Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the ACHA Power Play. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports. You can catch us on our website, 12ouncesports.com, and of course, our YouTube channel, which is 12 Ounce Sports, where you can catch all of our programming that we've got going on here this year. A lot of great stuff happening here at 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, one of our anchor shows that we've had throughout the years is the ACHA Power Play. And we got a great show lined up for you tonight. Coming up here momentarily will be Cliff Cook. He is the assistant coach of Drury University out of Springfield, Missouri. They're ranked in the top 15 in the latest ACHA men's Division I poll. And then coming up a little bit later on in the show, we will have Jorden Cooper, the head coach of Northwood University, joining us as they make their rise from D3 all the way up to D1, skipped over D2 and jumped up to D1, and they're off to a great start as well. But right now, without any further ado, let's bring in our first guest tonight. He is the assistant coach at Drury University, and he is Cliff Cook. Cliff, thanks for taking time out tonight. I know things are a little dicey where you're at weather-wise, but nonetheless, thanks for taking time out to be with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. And it's looking out my window here. Weather's getting a little questionable at the moment.
Well, if you need to run, you just.
Oh, no, we're good.
All right. I totally get it. We've had our share of that. So, hey, you guys are off to a great start this year. What's been the secret to your success so far this year?
Well, Coach Law in particular, but the two of us together had a good summer of recruiting, good spring and summer of recruiting. Got a lot of the guys that were targets of ours heading into this first year as a Division I program. And so it just things are coming together. We got a long way to go still. Like most teams, we're really far away from playing our best hockey, but the results have been there, which is a good sign.
So you guys are you're an independent, right? You're not
Correct.
affiliated with a conference.
Correct.
Is that a challenge for you guys trying to pick opponents, or is it how does that work trying to get a full slate of games throughout the year?
Yeah, it was a bit of a debate. In the first year, we didn't really have a good option of a conference. Obviously, as you probably know, Jeremy in particular, spent a lot of time at Missouri State University before moving to Drury. So obviously very familiar with the WCHL. That wasn't necessarily an option for us for a lot of reasons. So we had looked at some other ideas, but we've discovered so far, and of course things may change in the future, that being an independent allows us to kind of create the schedule we want and not be solely stuck to a 20-game conference schedule and then finding 10 to 14 more non-conference games. Now we can kind of pick and choose where we want to be. And, if we want a big trip one year, a lengthy trip one year, we can do it, but we don't have to. There's enough, we're so centrally located. There's enough around us to where scheduling has actually been not too bad so far.
So obviously I'm going to ask you, I know coaches will tell me on this show that they don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but you guys had a good jump in the rankings up to number 12, I believe, this week. And, this is the first, what they call the real rankings with the computer rankings. How much is you as a coach are paying attention to it, and how much does that motivate the players?
Well, that second part is the reason we are paying attention to it. We caught some grief in the final coaches poll because it was the first time we had appeared in it. And, we made a big deal about it on social media, and some friends of ours gave us a hard time. We said, look, it gets our guys excited. Yeah. We know, like those of us that have been around a long time, we know, especially the coaches poll at the end of the day means absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. But if we can get our guys excited, say, hey, people are recognizing what you're doing, then of course we're going to make a big deal about it. Yeah. Computer rankings the same way. The first one doesn't mean a ton, but at the end of the day, when you're number 11 in the first computer poll of your entire program's existence, it's something to get excited about. Again, we know there's a lot of fluctuation about to happen over the next few weeks till things kind of settle in. But to be number 11 right off the bat, it made us feel good. Like we're kind of moving in the right direction, even though we know there's a long way to go.
See, you've already got me paying more attention to it. I don't know why I put number 12 on there, but we'll go with number 11. I like that. That's You know what that also does, in my opinion, is it makes other programs take notice, and it'll, if nothing else, it'll help you with scheduling later on down the road.
For sure. And we had that conversation last week with the guys. We said, look, there was part of us that Jeremy and myself said, we don't mind flying under the radar first year at this level. Well, there's no under the radar at this point. Like, we're out there. People know. I mean, the record's out there when you right off the bat are a top, almost the top 10 team in the country, just under that. There's no hiding anymore.
No.
So it's puts more of a target, maybe not the same kind of target that the Minots and the Adrians of the world have, but it's still there.
So taking a look at your schedule to start, you've had some good competition. Yeah. And you had a nice weekend. I know it was only a split. Everybody wants to win every game. But you played Central Oklahoma, and we all know the history that they have. They're a powerhouse in Division I. And tell us a little bit about that. Were you happy with that? Are you, as far as that weekend series went?
Yes and no. I think we fell into the trap of, I think most people at this point know the situation at UCO right now. Their numbers are down after their coach left to go back to the North American League in the NA3. So they lost a lot of players. One of them transferred to us, in fact. So the problem is, as young players, they're capable of looking at things a little too much the wrong direction. They say, oh, they've got a short bench. This is going to be a cakewalk. Well, we tried to remind them, and they didn't quite get till after the first game that weekend, is the 13 guys that are there were 13 guys that made it to the semifinals of the tournament last year. They're still a very good team. And we just took them for granted. And it showed in game one, and taking nothing away. They beat us 4-2, earned every bit of it. And I've told Jeremy since then that hopefully that loss would be something that we're even more upset about if we can continue the streak we're on right now. I'd hate to think that's the one loss we have. But again, we know how it works. Probably not the last loss of the year. We hope it is. Yeah. But the reality of the situation is it probably won't be.
So I was looking at your roster, and what really obviously stands out is you've got quite a pipeline to Canada, North American roster. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I got to ask you, how did that come to be?
Well, it didn't come from this Texan, I can tell you that. I'm a native Texan. Now, Jeremy's the Canadian of the group, and a little history of Jeremy and I. This is the third team he and I have coached together. We've known each other over 20 years, close friends, coached juniors together back in the old WSHL, and obviously we're at Missouri State together. So we've got a long history. We're very close, but he's the Canadian. So he's got, just from that right alone, he's got a lot of connections, former college teammates of his that coach up in Canada, and not the least of which his own father, who's kind of a legendary figure up in Western Canada juniors, coaches for the Osoyoos Coyotes in the KIJHL, a league which we have 14 players from. Wow. So there's a good pipeline through Jeremy to get a lot of Canadians down here.
And so, and I look at, the team, and then two things I look at: roster and then stats. I'm a stats junkie. And one of the things, Cliff, I noticed with your team, obviously at first, is how you don't have one guy that's scoring 30 goals and no assists. I mean, you've got so many guys in double-digit points. I mean, spreads it around, shows that you can go 4 lines without missing a beat, it looks like. That's right, yeah. And this is – it's kind of we had this throughout the start of the year. It's a good problem to have, but a lot of the guys, if not all of the guys we brought in this summer, including the guys from the KI and whatnot, they were the guy on their team. Wow. And when you bring a bunch of guys like that were always, the guys on their previous teams that were counted on for everything, you bring them together, it's finding that cohesion and realizing they don't have to be the guy. And what you're seeing, the result of that is, like you said, balanced scoring. I think we've got 14 guys averaging a point a game right now. Obviously, our last weekend of games against Roosevelt helped with that. Wow. But, it's finding a way to convince these guys to put the egos aside. And that's a challenge at any level of coaching in any sport. When you get a talented rosters, put the egos aside and
come together as a group, and we're doing that. It's a process. We've got a young team. I mean, we're primarily freshmen and sophomores. We only have one senior. So it's which again, great problem to have. We got a good group that's going to be together for a while. So, but yeah, it's getting those guys to buy into what we're doing and realizing that they may be in a different role than they're used to.
Cliff Cook joining us, the assistant coach at Drury University, number 11 this week in the ACHA Men's Division I rankings. Cliff, again, another thing that I look at is goaltending, and I look at your team goals against. It's 1.81, I believe, and you look at any good team. It obviously, any coach I talk to, it starts at the back end too. And It looks like you've got 2 and 3 net minders that you can go to, and you can have all the confidence in the world in them.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got 3 guys we like a lot. Obviously Joseph Kachaslo gets the majority of our starts, but you can look at Brett Sweet and Josh Robbins. I'm kind of looking at their stats right now as well. They're, everybody's well within the 900s in save percentage. And I believe they're all, with maybe one exception, just because of a tough game that wasn't his fault, Josh Robbins. Yeah. And he still won it, but gave up a few more goals, probably more to do with what we did in front of him. But they're all at that, under a 2-0 goals against. So, we have confidence on all of them. Again, we tend to ride Joseph a little bit more. We brought him in this summer. He was the 2-time goaltender of the year in the KIJHL. His resume speaks for itself. But again, that's taking nothing away from Josh and Brett, who are both really talented guys.
So you mentioned you get to go to different places as far as being an independent. This weekend, you're heading up to our neck of the woods here. You're going to play Davenport for a couple of games, Friday night, Saturday. They're ranked. Phil Sweeney's kind of turned that program back around a little bit to back where it used to be. What do you expect out of the road trip up to Grand Rapids?
We're excited. It's, again, trying not to take anything away from the guys we've played so far, but we haven't been tested as much as we would like. Maybe a couple of games for sure. Yeah. Obviously, unfortunately, the last weekend wasn't a big test for us, but Central Oklahoma was a test, and now Davenport will be a big test, and then we follow that up with University of Oklahoma, who's going to be a really big test. So we've been good on the road, only 1 loss on the road. A couple of our guys are familiar with that rink because a few of our guys we brought up from our Division II team from last year, and that's where our regional tournament was last year. So there's some familiarity there. So we're excited. I always like getting up to Michigan. One of my longest and oldest friends is in Lake Orion. He's going to make the drive over to come see us. So,
great.
Yeah, we're excited. I expect definitely closer games than probably we've had, and good battle. We were ready for a test. We need it, and our goal is to come out of there with 2 wins. But we'll see how it goes.
What now? You mentioned how at the D1 level, how long has Drury had a D1 team?
This is the first year.
First year. That's what I thought. And I have to apologize. I looked at it last week. And then
it's only the 3rd year of the program in general.
Yeah.
So we took over after the first year. They had the D2 program. Jeremy and I were still at Missouri State. Yeah. Decided after some conversations to make the move literally across the street. And in the rink across the hall, we share a rink. So we've been there 2 years now. We did the D2 thing last year. We weren't able to move up right away, which was fine. Gave us a chance to kind of get our feet wet with the university and everything. And now, being able to announce in December we were moving up and start the quick process of scheduling and recruiting. I think we're pretty happy where we are, I'd say. Yeah.
I mean, have you recruiting's now 12 months a year, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. We were recruiting for the 25-26 season at the same time we were recruiting for this season.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with this young team, I'll ask you on both sides of the coin. What has been a pleasant surprise for you? And then what maybe is the biggest thing these guys, you have to work on with the fellas to kind of keep the mojo going?
The biggest surprise, and maybe it shouldn't have been, because again, we've got a lot of guys from the same league, a lot of guys that have been teammates before, but it's how quickly, and I'm not even necessarily talking on the ice, off the ice, that they've come together as a group. You don't always get that, as you know.
Yeah.
We've had teams in the past that, might have had some success on the ice, but you had the little cliques in the locker room and all. We just haven't seen that. If it's happening, they're doing a really good job of keeping it from us. But based on what we've seen, the guys just all really get along. They've come together well. And another great surprise, and again, maybe it shouldn't be because of the talent level we have. You mentioned stats earlier. One of the things that I get most excited about as a coach is in 10 games, we've only given up 1 goal on the penalty kill.
Wow.
And we've scored 3 shorthanded goals. I think I predicted we'd have more shorthanded goals than that. But to give up just 1 goal, and ironically, that was against Roosevelt, who we, handled pretty easily. I don't want to bash him too much, but as far as things to work on, we kind of hinted at it earlier. It's still continuing to build the on ice cohesion and realizing these guys. I mean, probably 95% of our guys on every team they were on before was a power play guy and an important guy, and there's just not enough room for everybody to do that. So finding a different role than they're used to, and buying into that, and it's coming along. Again, it's going to take a little longer, even with the success we've had, but we're optimistic, and it's easy to be optimistic when you're 9-1, but we're optimistic about the path of this group.
So yourself personally, you say you're a Texan. Where did you tell us a little bit?
I don't admit to that very often, by the
way. Another thing I like to find out where did you play and how did you start? What got you into coaching up to this point?
So I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. My family's still down there. My mom and stepdad. My father's up in Bellingham, Washington. But grew up. I had an older brother that played. We, family was big into the old Dallas Blackhawks that were around back in the day. We used to go to all the games. Then the Dallas Freeze showed up, and Fort Worth Fire, and then of course the Stars made an appearance. And sorry to my friends in Minnesota. I know they're still mad. But we just got into it from that. I got into it because my brother, it's strange to say as a Texan, I'm 48 years old and I've been in the hockey world literally since the day I was born, coming out of Texas. So, but even back then, it's a big thing there now. But when I grew up, it wasn't as big. I ended up finishing my last 3 years of high school in Lake Placid, New York at Northwood School.
Oh, wow.
Which was spectacular. Went to Iowa State University very, very briefly after that. Didn't stay long. Only lasted not even a full year there before realizing it just kind of wasn't my thing. I was there for all the wrong reasons. Was there for hockey. That wasn't going the way I wanted to. So lesson learned, left there. Tried to play professionally. Signed a contract back in '97 with the Oklahoma City Blazers in the Central League. And as a former team owner of mine and juniors found out, I don't exist on any hockey DB anywhere because I never played a regular season game in 3 years of professional hockey. So, but it was a great experience nonetheless. I'm proud of all that. But the coaching kind of started at the same time as the quote unquote pro career. I had my first ever coaching job in Oklahoma City because I was living in Edmond at the time. And the first ever year they had high school hockey in Oklahoma City, the Taco Bell High School Hockey League. And that was my first coaching opportunity. I've kind of been going nonstop ever since. So from 97 till now, I've been hitting the trail.
So are you a Dallas Stars guy or what's your team?
I don't have a team. I've always just been a fan of players. I grew up, my favorite player growing up. Well, anybody from, I would argue any era would be a Gordie Howe fan, of course. But
yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to get to know the Howe family a bit as well. Roomed with his grandson Travis a couple of years at hockey camp up in Canada. So
wow,
when I was a kid. But Dave Poulin was a personal favorite of mine growing up. Was a huge Dave Poulin fan. Guys like that. So I never really followed a team unless there was a player I liked. Right now, if I had to say anything, it would probably be Boston, just because I was fortunate enough to coach Jeremy Swayman his final year of AAA hockey in Colorado. So that was a great experience.
Well, they're all good. It seems like Boston's always good. They're a thorn in Detroit's side, that's for sure. Well, Cliff, this has been fun. This is exciting. You guys are doing great. Your first year in. It's got to be an exciting time for your team. Good luck this weekend up here in the Grand Rapids area, and
Thank
for the
you.
rest of the season. We'd love to have you back on. Maybe what I call the sprint part of the season,
Yeah,
and maybe hopefully we can talk a berth to St. Louis.
that'd be great. I look forward to it.
All right, Cliff, thank you for joining us. He's Cliff Cook, the assistant coach at Drury University, ranked number 11 in this week's ACHA Men's Division I poll. Cliff, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou.
All right, there we go. Cliff Cook from Drury University. Hey, what a great story. Again, shame on me. I thought that's what it said when this is their first year out and making great way. They're making just great advances with it already. And ranked number 11. That's a good spot to be in, as we all know with the computerized rankings. They keep winning, then I think they're going to stay there and get one of those at-large bids come February when they do the rankings for the final rankings for the national tournament. So we're going to keep an eye on that for sure throughout the year. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will have we'll take a look at the rankings in Men's Division I, as well as the opening rankings for Men's Division III. And we'll take a look at the updated rankings in Women's D1 as well. And we got a whole lot more. We're going to have Jorden Cooper from Northwood University coming up here at about 30 minutes past. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's right here on 12 Ounce Sports on 12ouncesports.com and our YouTube channel, 12 Ounce Sports.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Well, that's right. We talk about it all the time. If there's a game you want to go to this weekend, the National Hockey League is going strong right now. We've got the tickets for that. We are a ticket broker, as we mentioned. We don't charge those fees that you see on some of those other websites or those secondary markets. NHL, NFL, NBA, you name it. College football, college basketball, college hockey, you name it. We've got it right here at tickets or 12ouncesports.com/tickets. Huge thanks to Cliff Cook, the assistant coach at Drury University. Again, what a great story. The opening year for them at the D1 level, and they've got a nice ranking at a number of 11. And this is going to be a big test for them this weekend, coming up to take on 22nd ranked Davenport, I believe it is. We'll go through that momentarily, but they've got a very young squad. And when you've got a young squad like that and you're doing as good as they are, and it sounds like they're winning with goaltending and balanced scoring, that's a recipe for success. So we're going to keep an eye on that throughout the year. It's an exciting story as they are ranked at number 11. All right, while we're at it, let's take a look at those men's Division I rankings for this is the opening computerized rankings. Coaches polls are great, but as Coach Cook mentioned, they don't mean anything. It's fun for fodder for guys like me who can talk about it here on our ACHA Power Play. But this is where it counts, if you will. Now we got 8 automatic berths, which means there's going to be 16 wild card spots open coming up when the final rankings are announced the end of February, right around there with March. In March of 25, that's when the national tournament is in St. Louis. So let's talk about the rankings. A lot of jumps, including number 1. That's Jamestown, undefeated going into this ranking. So they're at the lofty perch at number 1. Number 2 is Calvin. They bumped up 8 spots from number 10. They this past weekend got a weekend sweep against Illinois State. So they're keeping it going. Number 3, Minot State. Number 4, Ohio. They're always up there. near the top. It's just, they're one of the mainstays. Nevada, Las Vegas, they're at number 5. Liberty is at number 6 this week. They stayed right where they're at. Utah comes in at number 7. They jumped up from number 14, so they're a nice lofty perch for them. Oklahoma, they're checking in at number 8. Coach Cook talked about that. They've got a big matchup with them right after they play Davenport. So a couple of big weekends for them to test that number 11 ranking. At number 9, Indiana Tech, they made a big jump as well. As talked to head coach DeCristofaro, he was pretty happy. He was happy about that ranking, obviously, and he's happy with what they're doing so far this year. Number 10 is Purdue Northwest, Coach Trozine's team. They split with Calvin previously to that. They had a tough weekend with Grand Valley, but they're right there in the top 10 at number 10. Drury, as we mentioned, number 11. They jumped 12 spots from number 23 in the coaches ranking. At number 12, the defending national champion Adrian Bulldogs. They drop 11 spots. Niagara at number 13. They had a weekend matchup with number 6 Liberty, and they won in a shootout against Liberty. So that we'll see if that does anything to the rankings. Number 14, Grand Canyon University. Number 15, Maryville. Always, again, they're right there in the rankings, right there, a national tournament participant every year. Oswego State checking in at number 16 this week. Fun seeing them at the tournament last year. Arizona stayed the same at 17. University of Mary dropped from number 7 to number 18. They're right there in the conversation. Still a lot of season left. Then we got some teams that weren't ranked that made it into the top 25. At 19, it's Midland University. Number 20, Arizona State. They're looking to, with that budding rivalry with Arizona. 21st, we talked about it, Davenport. 5 teams from the GL6 are ranked in the top 25. Number 22, Grand Valley. They've got a weekend set coming up this week with number 2, Calvin. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Number 23, Colorado for the first time this year. Colorado State at 24. And then Illinois checking in at number 25. So there's your top 25. There's some movement, as we mentioned. The first computerized ranking. So we'll keep an eye on that. And as I said, we got 8 automatic berths to the national tournament and then 16 at large teams. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of these conferences, how many automatic or how many teams will get in from each conference. And as we mentioned, the thing with this tournament at the D1 level at St. Louis is it's single elimination. The top 8 teams get a bye into the second round, but there is no pool play where you might be able to slip up for a period or something, end up maybe dropping a game and still get into the Final Four. This is one where you got to play smart 60 minutes. There's no recovery. If you take a couple of bad penalties, you're down 2-0 after a period or 3-0. We've seen it at this level where we get a couple of good teams and they just make a couple of lapses where they end up giving up 5 goals or something, and then they're done. So that's the finality of that national tournament. But it's an exciting time, and we get some really good hockey, as we saw last year with Adrian making it through all the way to get their 3rd national championship. So they're the ones everybody's gunning for at the D1 level. So we'll obviously keep you updated throughout the year, throughout every week here on the show as far as the rankings at the D1 level. All right, let's take a look at, while we're looking at rankings here, let's take a look at the men's Division III rankings. This is the first one, came out last week as well. Now, again, for those that have watched throughout the years who are familiar with the ACHA at the with the D3 level, up until a couple of years ago, it used to have to qualify for the national tournament through a regional tournament like they do at the D2 level. So now what they do is they just take the top 16, kind of like what the men's Division I level does with the top 24. But this is top 16. And so you've got to try to keep an eye on that. And it gets close. That's kind of, it's exciting for us when you get down towards February, when we're looking for the last few spots to see who's going to make it into that 6th, 15th, and 16th spot. So we'll obviously keep you up to date with this every time it comes out. The first rankings are out, and we get the usual suspects are near the top, and it starts right out with longtime power. Last year at the D3 level this year, Hope College checking in at number 1. They are number 1 ahead of Calvin University, who's at number 2. Calvin had a split last weekend, taking on Grand Valley, number 6 Grand Valley. They won at each other's home ice this past weekend. So that's we'll see what that does to the rankings. But Hope and Calvin, they're going to meet each other, by the way, in 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. The weekend before Thanksgiving, a home and home. That's going to be dynamite. That's going to be standing room only for those 2 games. Can't wait to be a part of that, as number 1 will play number 2. Missouri State checks in at number 3. Oakland is back in the top of the rankings. For those of you that, again, if you remember back about 10 years, well, I guess 7 to 10 years ago when they're at the height of their success, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, making runs to the Final Four, getting to the national tournament every year. They're back near the top at number 4. The defending national champion, Lawrence Tech, they're at number 5 this week. Grand Valley at number 6, as we mentioned. Michigan at number 7. So again, the MCHC right there. And again, in its full glory, for lack of a better word, at number 7. They've got 5 of the top 7 teams right now. Air Force, they're always a national tournament participant. They're at number 8. Notre Dame at number 9. They had some heart-stopping games last year at the D3 level, looking to make that next step to get into the Final Four for the first time. Northern Arizona, they're in the top 10 at number 10. Then you've got UC Davis, California Davis checking in at 11. Dort at number 12. Dallas Baptist, they've been to the national tournament a couple of times. They're at 13. Cal State Long Beach at number 14. Nebraska, we've seen them play spoiler a few times in the national tournament. They check in at number 15. And the Badgers, they check in at number 16. So, yeah, they're right there at the top of the rankings in Division III. So we'll take a look at the women's side in a little bit as well as we roll on here on the ACHA Power Play. I want to welcome everybody here. And what I'd also like to do right now is welcome in our next guest. He is the head coach of Northwood University here in Midland, Michigan, off to a great start in their first year at D1. Let's bring in Jorden Cooper. Let's see what I got here. Why is my not getting up? I can see if he wants to turn on his microphone. Having a little bit of we'll try this again. All right. Jorden, I don't know if you've got your microphone on or not. So on my end, it shows that it's not. I don't know if he froze up. Looks like he might have froze up. We'll try it again in a few minutes here. So let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll see if we can't get that fixed. Yeah, I was going to say he's sitting pretty still there for the longest time. I don't think it's on my end. We'll try it one more time. We'll take a break. We'll be back. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's next right here it's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and our 12 Ounce Sports channel on YouTube.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right. At 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ACHA Power Play. And again, we want to mention we are your ticket broker, the official sponsor here of 12 Ounce Sports and the ACHA Power Play. 12ouncesports.com/tickets. We are your source for all of your tickets. this weekend, the big NFL games, college football. You want to travel down to Indiana to watch them put a beat down on our Michigan Wolverines, get your tickets at 12ouncesports.com/tickets. All right, let's see if we can get Jorden back on. There he is. Jorden, how are you doing? The head coach of Northwood University in Midland, Michigan, just outside our official spacious studios here in Grand Ledge. How are you, Jorden?
Great, Lou. Thank you for having me on. It's great to do this. I wasn't totally familiar with your show until you reached out, and watching it back, I love what you do, talking about all the different divisions. It's awesome. I'm an ACHA nerd, so I love this.
Oh, this is great. All right. Well, welcome to the show. You guys are off to a great start. 11-1, I believe. A nice weekend against Toledo. Looks like it's been going good for you so far this year.
Yeah, it's been a blast. The jump up. It's I've been here for a year and 10 months, and it is unbelievable the wild ride it's been. I wish there was somebody here to document it all, because it's absolutely absurd. Going from 6 players and running practices second semester when I was hired with 6 players to D1 and 11-1. Somebody pinch me.
Well, we got to start with that timeline then, Jorden. I mean, we saw the initial news that you guys in Saginaw Valley were 2 of the teams that were going to be making that jump, just totally bypassing D2, going right to D1. Kind of wondering how it was going to go. But tell us about when you found out about it, and kind of the timeline of all that.
Yeah. So, when I was hired, we had, like I said, we had 6 guys. First job, job number 1 is put together a full roster. You can't be competitive without guys. So we,
right.
It went from the first year, begging guys, like they're going, oh, I don't even think you guys are going to have a team, and then, doing well year 1 in D3. That's the toughest division in the country.
Oh.
Everybody knows it, that MCHC. I played in it. It is an absolute gauntlet. There's teams in that league, I'll swear up and down, that are better than some D1 teams, and a good amount of them. So, and then, competing there, and, the GLCHL reached out to us in Saginaw pretty much with the new, formation of the GL6HL conference, which is a heavy hitter now. That's a doozy of a conference. With those teams leaving, they wanted some teams to backfill to keep their league going. And, we had talked about it at Northwood with myself, athletic director, Jeff Curtis, who's absolutely wonderful to work with. It was something we had envisioned down the line. But when the opportunity is there, you take it. And, we've been running with it since.
So you get the news, you go to D1, and then all of a sudden, not only that, but you got to fill out a schedule. I mean, I've talked to hundreds of coaches throughout doing this show now for 9 years that, they get hired right away, and, it's so much involved besides just coaching. So you had to, all of a sudden, now you're at D1 and you got to get all these games on your schedule. How difficult was that? It's
very tough, with there's a lot more to it than people think, especially on my playing side. I played in D2 and D3 at Central, and you don't really think about those things until you're on this side. And, I didn't have any coaching experience before this. So it was, we're learning on the fly, that's just how we are. But it was tough, that's for sure. And, we had some great coaches that were, very, how do I word it? Nice and helping us get it figured out. A lot of teams in our conference, like we're playing Saginaw 4 times this year, Oakland 4 times, Western 4 times. Those teams were very understanding that, look, we got approved in November. There's not time, to schedule. And I don't think a lot of people realize for ACHA D1, it's almost like college football scheduling, and that it's, 2 years out, you got, partners you go back and forth with every year.
Yeah.
So it was, a limbo to get teams in the schedule that are, close enough to make budgeting, somewhat seem reasonable, but also having some good play on there. And, something that we just had to get it together this year. And, it's going to be a little different next year, that's for sure. We got some tougher teams on there, which is exciting. But yeah, it definitely is a challenge to get that schedule, filled, later on. So I was thankful that we got something together.
So you played at Central, and they've had some success over the years, and then you make the jump to coaching. It's funny as I talk with Brandon Rosema from the coach at Aquinas now, and he was a player for a few years there. What's been the toughest transition for you going from player to coach?
It's tough to not want to be best friends with the kids. That's really hard, to be honest with you, because we have such a wonderful group of guys. That is one thing I think that we are blessed with is great kids that really buy into what we tell them. And the unique thing for our coaching staff is, I'm not the only young one. Our assistant coach has been my best friend since 5th grade. Ryan Stump, who also played at Central.
Yes.
And our other assistant coach, Taylor Carey, who drives an hour and a half from Gaylord down to practice because he loves our guys. He's a younger guy too. So, we don't take on that father figure role. We take on more of a big brother role and, advising the kids what to do and what not to do better than we did. That's, the whole goal of coaching, I guess, in my eyes. But, other than that, I couple MOs. I don't believe in rebuilding or building years, in coaching. I think every year can be your best year. We got one senior right now. He deserves, this is his biggest year, so we're not building, we're in win now mode, and we will be every year that I'm here. So that's kind of my MO.
I want to go back to something you mentioned about the coaches working with you to get games scheduled and everything. And, I talked to, this is such a fraternity. The ACHA is with their coaches. That does not surprise me. It's such a brotherhood and sisterhood, for lack of a better word. Coaches in the area that are willing to work with you to get that done. It's a testament to the programs in the ACHA.
100%. You got guys like Mike Petrusma that you work with. Yeah. That's he's a mentor to me. I look up to him. He was up till 3 a.m. talking with me at the Naples, ACHA convention, giving me tips on the program and stuff like that. I know I don't know everything, and those guys may know a little bit more than me, as well as our former coach here, Mike Vesna. I'm the second head coach ever at Northwood, and they've been around since the 70s. What are we talking about? That's ridiculous. So, Northwood has a storied past in the ACHA that may go under the rug. They were a heavy hitter in 06, 07, back-to-back years. They're an ACHA D3 national championship. The next year, they're 3rd place. So it's a storied program that was around when the MCHC was around, before the ACHA was even a thing, that I'm learning about from Mike Vesna, who's still giving me, tips and helping behind the scenes. So it's a great fraternity. Another guy that's been really great to me is Matt Sarkeesian with Grand Valley. He's a great guy. I talked to them today about their big wins over Purdue Northwest, and he does all our equipment order. So we kind of bonded over that and stuff. But he's a fantastic guy too. So it is a really great group of guys. And unfortunately, we a week and a half ago we lost a great member of that fraternity in Brandon Orth. That was a heavy loss for sure, and he was a fantastic guy, and I love talking to him. He was a treat. So that was some sad news, but it really is just a great group of guys, all over the country, and I'm excited to meet more along the way.
Yeah, that indeed was sad. Losing Brendan, he was on the show a couple of times, and he would definitely reach out. Anybody ever had a question or needed a hand from him, he was there at a moment's notice. That was tough. Well, let's talk about your players. Now, you got a young team, as you mentioned. One of the things I noticed, I was talking with Cliff Cook in the first half hour of our show. Your team is right along the same lines as them. You got such balanced scoring, and you can roll out. It looks like you can roll out 3 to 4 lines and not miss a beat.
Yeah, 100%. We have. So, a secret of our program, we play out of Midland Civic Arena, and it's an Olympic sheet of ice. So it's 15 feet wider. So we play to that for sure. We got a fast squad. top to bottom, there is speed everywhere, and that's something that we really emphasize. It's, we have some size, but it's not my biggest thing. We really work on angling and a lot of conditioning, if you ask our boys. That's for sure. But yeah, some super talented forwards, Bryce Garber, Alex Bedenko, even Milos Todorovic, have been lighting it up, moving the puck well. They're finally learning that not every goal has to be a Sports Center top 10 goal, but it can be a dirty, greasy goal. So it's exciting group, and we got fantastic defense, and I argue the best goalie in the country right now. That's for sure.
Well, I was just going to bring that up. I looked at his numbers, and it's just, these are Mason Matthew, undefeated, 1.17 goals against, and a 953 save percentage, 4 shutouts. My goodness, those are Vezina Trophy type numbers, man.
Yeah, we call him Moose because he's that big. He's 6'6".
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the last 2 years he's been out with Dakota College of Botanu, D2, and at the national tournament with them. So I actually, my last year playing at nationals, I think that was his first year at nationals. That's wild. So even a funny story is, I played against Bryce Garber. My last year was his freshman year at Trine D3.
Yeah.
So I always, give him some crap about that. But he's a stud in net, and we play a very good brand of hockey. Our 2 MOs are, no penalty minutes and no odd man rushes. And if those things aren't happening, all of a sudden it's really tough to score.
So obviously the season started out 11-1. That's a pleasant surprise. But if there's anything that you guys have done that you didn't expect this year, what would that be?
Our resiliency in terms of gameplay. So we had 2 games this year so far. Northern Illinois, where we could not get it going. Bad start at home. We're down 2-0 in the first, down 2-1 in the second. And then we come out in the third and tied up with about 10 minutes left. And then we scored 3 goals in the last 5 minutes. And it's like, holy cow, okay, so we got something. And we ended up going to overtime. And was it that game? No, it was the second game. We went to overtime with them and got it done. It's just a tough weekend for us. So that was the first one. And then this past weekend at Toledo on Friday, it was, the message between the first and second was welcome to D1 hockey. This is a tougher opponent.
Yeah.
We got to get our feet moving, and down 3-1 going to the third. I've never been a part of a team that wouldn't have shut down there. Their resiliency, we got it back to 3-2. We were clawing back at them, and then they got a weak one, and it's 4-2. And then we ended up scoring 2 with 5 minutes left, 45 seconds apart, and 1 in overtime. So, the resiliency of this squad and just the brotherhood is something special. That's for sure.
So on the other end of the coin, if there's something you think you guys may need to work on a little bit, it's hard to nitpick about a team that's off to a great start. But if there's something maybe that you guys could maybe look at a little bit, what would that be?
Well, I'm a perfectionist. That's for sure. My grandpa was a boot sergeant in the Marines, and my dad followed, those kinds of traits. So I was trained, as a perfectionist, got to dust the top of fan blades, stuff like that. Backwards passes in the D zone, blind passes, puck watching, communicating on back checks. Our film sessions on Sunday night at 8 p.m. are thorough. And, there's always something, but, it's a work in progress, and just emphasizing them. We just got to continue to build each week because there's, that tougher team coming. We got that special week in a couple weeks against Calvin circled on our calendar for sure. So we've been working towards that. We got goals of our own too. So we're looking to, have a hefty hack at them.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question. Jorden Cooper's joining us, the head coach of Northwood University, off to a great start, 11-1. You get to travel down to Kent State this weekend, and then you play a home and home with Oakland. Then you've got a big matchup with Calvin. So you guys are busy. You guys got some big games here right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about the process. We're on the ice 6 days a week, and that 7th day we're doing film. And, it's, a very regimented program. We do our pre-scout and our film on Sunday nights, who we're playing going into the week and fixing what we did last week. And, Monday skills, Tuesday scrimmage for, spots on Saturday, Wednesday systems, Thursday's power play penalty kill. So it's all about the process. And, coming up, I like our matchup against Kent State. Road trips are always tough, right? Keeping the focus and finding the nutrition on the road. But I like our odds with where we're at scoring. I mean, coming off last game, scoring 10 goals, 3 in the first 3 shifts. I mean, we're in a good spot right now. We're humming and we're healthy. If you look at our penalty minutes, we don't get into the crap. They skate for penalty minutes. They skate for missed classes. We skate for a lot of things. So we got them pretty disciplined. So it's we're in a good position. And I like where we're at right now. And we got a great group of guys. So I like our chances against anybody. Bring them on.
I'm excited to watch you guys when you come to Calvin in 3 weeks. Or 2 weeks. That's going to be fun. So you obviously you said you played at Central. I thought your name sounded familiar. Where did you play before that, before you became a Chippewa?
So what's wild is I played high school hockey. Growing up, I played for Computer, Honeybake, Little Caesars, the works in Metro Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Played high school hockey as late bloomer, grew a foot my sophomore, junior year in high school. Then in my senior year, I played juniors out in the USPHL Elite when there was only Premier and Elite. There was no NCDC. So Elite, I guess, would be considered Premier today out in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Hated the experience, hated junior hockey, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. It just wasn't for me. I had other stuff going on in life. I was distracted, came back home and, ended up at Oakland Community College, went there for 2 years, went to Eastern for a year, didn't even know what the ACHA was. I mean, it's wild. And then my buddy, my best friend, Ryan Stump, who's my assistant coach now, said, "Hey, come up to Central and play hockey." I'm like, what do you mean play hockey? And he's like, "Oh, the ACHA, this is how it works and stuff." So I went up there and, I've been, drugged since. I mean, it is awesome. It is an addiction. The grind, the weekly rankings, there is nothing better than the ACHA. It's in my blood for sure. And it's a beautiful, beautiful league with the balance of small schools with funding, big schools with enrollment. It is an awesome, awesome league. And, I took a 3-year hiatus and then got into it. And I was like, wow, I wish I got into it sooner. That's for sure.
So who was your favorite player? Tell me it was a Red Wing growing up. No?
It had to be Nick Lidstrom. I mean,
okay.
It was drilled into me, the first breakout pass as a defenseman, a stay-at-home defenseman. It's hard not to love him and just the simplicity of it. And then, I didn't realize how good he really was until now. I look back, 7 Norris trophies. I'm like, what the heck? That's wild.
He's one of those things where, you don't appreciate how good that guy was until he retired. And I'm not taking anything away from what Detroit has now, but how good of teams they had and what he brought to the table is just mind-boggling how good he was, eh?
Yeah. And playing for Little Caesars, the 1 year when we went to the brick tournament up in at the West Edmonton Mall, we went to that. And we were the Red Wings for that year. And, the Illich family came in and talked about what it meant to be a Red Wing. McCarty and Maltby came in and talked about it. It's funny. I see our jersey and it reminded me of that behind you, before we flew out and went out there. So Metro Detroit, the hockey capital of the world, whether people know it or not, I think we got the edge over those Minnesota boys.
I do too.
But, it's awesome, the Red Wings and having that influence growing up and, now seeing the correlation of when the Wings are good and what it does to the birth years of hockey and, when they weren't so good or the 2008 recession, how that affected hockey numbers. All those things are interesting to look at now.
Well, Jorden, this has been fun. I really appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight. Good luck this weekend at Kent State. And hey, I can't wait to meet you in person in a couple of weeks when you guys play the 2nd of 2 against Calvin. Keep it going. It'll be fun to keep an eye watching you guys throughout the year. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Lou, and best of luck, and I'm excited to see you soon. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. He's Jorden Cooper, the head coach of Northwood University. This is great. We've had 2 coaches, 2 programs on tonight in their first year at D1, Drury and Northwood. So 2 great teams to follow their progress in not only this year, but in the years to come. And you've got a great young coach in Jorden Cooper. That's what it's all about. He's hungry, he's excited, and he's got the motivation. And they've got a young squad there too, and they've got an amazing goaltender. You heard his numbers. Mason Matthew, 8-0-0, 1.17 goals against, 953 save percentage, just absolutely lights out. So, again, thanks to Jorden Cooper for joining us. All right, we got a few minutes left here of the program. Let's, like we mentioned, take a quick look at the women's D3 rankings, the latest rankings, as they're in their numbers, their second ranking. And a newcomer this week because they finally started playing. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Their season started a little bit later. They're Liberty. They're a powerhouse in women's D1. Well, they're a powerhouse in every division right now. Lately, they check in at number 3 this week. Maryville, again, they're ranked number 1 in the country this week. McKendree checking in at number 2, right where they were last time. Liberty at number 3. Adrian drops 1 to number 4. Midland drops 1 to number 5. Then you've got Michigan at number 6. Indiana Tech at number 7. Then at number 8, you've got Miami. And then at number 9, it's Minot State. And then rounding out the top 10 is Michigan Dearborn. After that, it's Michigan State at 11, Lindenwood at 12, Niagara at 13, Jamestown at 14, and then Lake Superior State rounding out the top 15. Now, again, how it works with the women's side is at the D1 level, the top 10 make it. The top 2 teams get the buys right to the quarterfinals. Then after that, it is 3 versus 10, playing a double elimination style format where if you lose, you can still get another chance in the opening round to get back in. And man, I'll tell you what, it has made for some unbelievable games in the national tournament. Who could forget last year when Minot played Michigan and scored with 1/10 of a second left to advance. So yeah, that's such a great atmosphere. And again, the road to St. Louis is in November. This is the marathon portion of it, as we say. But wait till after Christmas and after New Year's. Then that's when the sprint happens, because we get to about 6 weeks to go before regionals and conference tournaments, and then the final rankings, and then the bids go out, and then the getting ready for everybody to convene in St. Louis for the national tournament, which again is this year, or this coming March of 2025. All right. Hey, that's going to do it. What a great show here tonight. Want to thank Cliff Cook, the assistant coach at Drury University. They check in at number 11 this week in the poll, off to a fantastic start. And Jorden Cooper, the head coach at Northwood University, another team off to an amazing start at 11-1. Both those teams in their first year of existence at the D1 level. And again, looking for great things out of both of those teams. So much fun to watch. Great news stories coming out of the ACHA, which makes this, again, all the more worth it, as we love bringing this to you right here on 12 Ounce Sports and the ACHA Power Play. All right, that's going to do it. We'll see you next week for another edition of the ACHA Power Play live right here on 12 Ounce Sports. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Be safe. And again, one more thing, thank you for welcoming us into your homes and on your computers and TVs, or however you're watching us around the world here on the ACHA Power Play. So long, everybody.